Okay, so I am on a Windows computer today, but it's going to be the same setup as I have on my Mac. And you may have noticed the app is now crashing based on our last video where we set up ESLint. It's not just you. When I change this to .jsx, it starts crashing. And I had forgotten that Create React Native App expects this to be called app.js. So we're going to change it back to comply. But when we comply with this rule, we're going to get these red lines in our ESLint because of ESLint, which we don't want. So to get rid of this, we are going to copy this rule and just turn it off. We're just going to ignore it. So in our .eslint.rc file, the way to ignore things is you can create a rules object, put the rule you want, and just turn it off. So by putting a 0 there. Now on Windows, you'll be noticing more little red things because of ESLint, and that is because line break style. So we are going to turn this rule off as well. Now this is something you don't have to worry about on Linux or Mac because their line break style is just fine. The Windows 1 break stuff. Okay, so now our app is rendering like before, and we don't see any red here, so we're good to go and continue. So what we're going to be doing today is building the layout for our app. Now I'm going to be stealing inspiration from this one right here. I'm going to be doing this kind of top view with these 3 bars and then the buttons at the bottom, which is kind of basic all calculators, but going to have the triple view of the stack. I think I'm only going to do 3 instead of 4 bars, and then I'm not going to do all the buttons they have here. I'm going to simplify it because I don't think we need a lot of them. I'm going to be doing clear, POW, swap, and then these guys, and then the regular numbers. So yeah, let's get into building the layout. So to start us off, what I'm thinking is, and what I like to do when building layouts is to kind of break it into chunks. So let's take a look at this again. It's kind of split. There's a top half and a bottom half. So the first thing I'm going to do is split it up like that. So I'm going to create here, and I'm going to get rid of the default container style except for the flex. So what flex does, if you've never seen it before, is it expands to the whole container width. So flex 1 is exactly what we want. This is going to be basically our background, and it's taking over the whole screen. And what I like to do to kind of just confirm these things or look at it is set background colors. So if I set a background color of blue, we can see that this container is now taking up the whole app screen. So now to create a top and bottom, we're going to create a view here that's going to be kind of like our top panel view, and a bottom panel, which is going to be our bottom. And when doing this, again, I'm just going to keep using this background color because it really helps to visualize it. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to create 2 new styles here. So I'm going to create a top style, oops, and a bottom style. Now the top, I'm going to make yellow. Actually, let's just make it blue. Background color blue. And this one red. So then we're going to add the style, styles.bottom, and styles.top. So exact like they have here. And then I'm just going to add a text in this so we can see it. I'm going to say hi, and then up here we're going to have 0 3 times, and refresh. Okay, so we can see the zeros up here, we can see the hi. Now this hi is going to be our bottom block with all our buttons, and I want that guy to fill up the whole screen. So I'm going to say flex 1 on it. And by saying flex 1, it's going to expand the rest of the container width like we want. And now you'll notice how this is kind of bumping into the top bar here. I'm just going to set a, let's add padding top of maybe like 20 pixels. And we can kind of see it. We'll see if this is enough. We might have to add more padding later so we can see it at the bar. Okay, so the number here, I'm going to add style to. So we can create a style for them. we want to push them over to the right, give them some color, give them some padding and stuff. Let's just call these, we'll just call them number. That's fine. So, and we're going to apply that to this text. So style, styles.number, and we're going to do 3 of them. So here I'm going to make the color white, and I'm going to make the background color. Now the background color I'm going to use for this is actually the color I want it to be. I'm going to call it 42, 42, 42, which is kind of like a nice background color. It's a nice dark color. And then I'm going to say text align right to push it over. And then I'm just going to say padding of, I don't know, 10 pixels. Just going to pump it. And then increase the font size of it, let's say 30. And let's bold it. Font weight, bold. Okay, so we're kind of seeing this top part come together. We can add a border bottom with 1 pixel, and then border color I can make white just to kind of differentiate between the different rows. Cool, that looks nice. So I'm pretty happy with this top part now. Let's start attacking the bottom part right here. So for the bottom part, we're going to have rows and rows and numbers. So each row I'm going to create a view. So I'm going to create a new style here called row. And we're going to have a view, and each view is going to be a row. So I'm going to say style, styles.row, and in the style we're going to have just some text, which is going to be our buttons here. Now I could just add text like this, but what I'm going to do is actually create another component and use it here. So I'm going to create a custom component, and the reason for that is we're going to be adding extra functionality to this later, so it's going to be easier if we abstract this. So I'm just going to create a new file called button.js, and just like the other file, we're going to import React from React, and I'm going to say const button, and I'm going to create a functional component here, as opposed to, oh, we have a functional component over here now too. So this is a function that returns a component, and that's going to do here as well. And I'm just going to export default button. And so here for now I'm just going to say text, and then what I want to actually do is take as a parameter of this function the text that the button should display. So as a parameter it takes props, and we can extract props like this. So I'm going to grab text, and then I can display the text between tags like this, and we need to import text from React Native. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking text from the props, and then I'm displaying the text in between these text tags. Notice how I had to do curly braces because this is JSX, and JSX, whenever you're using variables or JavaScript things, you have to wrap it with that. Okay, so now we can use this button component in our app.js over here. The first step is to import it. Oops. So I'm going to import button from /button. So now we have access to that button component we have over there, and so I can just put a button in between this view. So button, and the text for this I'm going to say clear. And I might simplify what the word says. So notice how we see the word clear there. So it rendered our text that we passed. And I'm missing prop types. I'm going to get rid of this. I don't really like adding prop types. It's a good idea too, but I find it slows me down a little bit. If you don't know what prop types are, they're a way of validating the user input or the input. So for example, if over here in text I were to add a number like this instead of doing a string like it's supposed to, it'll just give me a little warning telling me I'm doing it wrong. But that's fine. So I just disabled that rule, and now the text I am trusting myself to use as a string. So here I'm now going to use that all the way down. So I'm going to have a couple buttons. I'm going to have POW. And what was the other ones that I wanted? Clear, POW. I wanted swap as well. And then we're going to have division. So now we have one row. Now you'll notice how the items are like this. And really I want them like that, right? I want them in a row, or I want them in columns instead of a row, because these are all straight down. So my row right here, I can say flex direction row. And now notice how they are lining up all in a line like I want them to. And I want to show you guys background color for this. Let's make it pink. So this is where our row is currently, and I want my row to expand the whole width of this. So I'm going to say flex 1. And save it. Now as I add more rows, you'll notice, so let's copy this, paste this row, and give that a save. Notice how these two split. So that's how flex works. If two rows, so this guy and this guy have flex 1 on them, because we have styles row, what happens is instead of both of them taking up the entire space, they split it in half. Now if I do this another time, they'll split it into thirds, and if I do this another time, it'll split into fourths. So now I have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4 broken up. And we don't really need the background colors blue and red anymore, so we can get rid of those. Okay, so now here I'm going to fill out the buttons that I want. So here I'm going to have, so I have clear, here I'm going to have 9, 8, 7, and then this is going to be an X for multiplication. This is going to be 6, 5, 4, and then a minus for subtraction. And we're going to have 3, 2, 1, and we're going to have a plus. And now I'm going to create one more row. This one's going to have 3, or not 3, sorry, 0, and a dot for decimal point. And then we're going to have a button here that says enter. So this one only has 3 buttons. And here's what we're looking like right now. So not very pretty. And the reason for that is our buttons are not taking up a lot of space. So let's look at what the buttons look like right now. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start styling them. So to style them, we're going to be using style sheet like we're using right here. So I can just copy style sheet and copy you. So now we have a styles over here. So I'm going to create a container style for this as well. So I'm going to call this container, and then I'm going to call this text. So I'm now going to create a container around this guy. So view, and the view is going to be the container. So I'm going to say style, and I'm going to say styles.container, and then the text is going to get the text style. I don't know what text style I want to add yet, so I'm probably going to leave that off for now. Well, I'm going to just probably do font size and stuff. So style is equal to styles.text, and this is getting mad at me because I have not imported view. Okay, so here I want to say flex 1. Now, similar to what you saw before, and you know what, before I flex 1, I'll show you guys what this looks like. So background color red, for example. Notice how this doesn't take up a lot of space, because right now the width of it is dependent on what the text size is. But I want the width of this view to expand this whole width and break up into equal parts. So by saying flex 1, it should split into fourths here. Save that again. For some reason it's making me save twice for it to refresh over here. So now you notice it splits in equal distances, these guys. Notice the down here it splits this into thirds because there's only 3 of them. We're gonna have to fix that in a second. The bottom one is a special case. So I'm gonna get rid of this red because it's really hard to see. Instead, the background color I'm gonna use for this is FA, which is just kind of an off color of white that looks pretty nice. Yep, so we're gonna keep the flex. And then the text, I'm gonna set text size as maybe like 36 pixels. I don't know if we want this bigger than that. Text size, oh, font size. Font size. I used the wrong property name. And so you notice these are not lined up right now. So what we can do is say align items center on our container, and then align our text. And that looks pretty good. I can't tell if that is, I think I have to use justify items as well. It looks a little off center to me. Justify, looks like justify items is not a prop. I think maybe it's justify content. They have all, oops, yeah, I think I saw justify content. So here are all the props that you can use for styling content. There we go. So now our centered vertically and horizontally, that looks nice. So we have it as FA as our background color. And this is starting to look pretty good. Now this bottom guy is a special case, and I want to kind of differentiate the buttons here, so I'm thinking about adding a little border. So maybe first thing our row, so set a border bottom width 1, see what that looks like. Okay, maybe set the color to, and I'm gonna get rid of the pink. I think that was the only color we were adding. Yeah. And I'm gonna set the border color to white. Alright, you can just barely differentiate these right now because this is not very, because this is an off shade of white, and that's white. I might change what the color of this, we'll leave it for now. And then the button over here, I kind of want to add a line right down here. So we're gonna say border right width is 1, border color is going to be white as well. Border, I just spelled right wrong, and I spelled it right or wrong again. There we go. So now we can see a little bit of a border around the things. I think we're gonna have to change the color of one of these guys. Maybe if I made this like a gray. This might be too, yeah. I'm gonna leave this as how it is right now, but we might come back to it. Okay, so notice this guy down here. We're gonna fix it so it moves over nicely. So the way we're gonna do that is our enter. We want it to take 2 blocks here. So instead of flexing 1, we're gonna have it flex more than 1. So that way it's 50% and these guys are 25% and 25% each. So we need to give it more prominence basically. So this button is going to be special. So I'm going to pass in a prop called special. So I can either say special is equal to true, but ESLint does not like me using that syntax. Same way you can say special is equal to true is by saying it like this. So now my button over here, I have a prop I can grab called special. So we're passing that in. So none of these buttons over here are using the special prop, only the enter button is. So whenever we get the special prop is true, we know that this is the enter button. So we're going to create a special container style. So we're going to say special container. And we want it to have all the same styling as this one except flex a different amount. So I'm going to say const base container. And we're going to grab all the props, all the styles we have here, and we are going to share them between these two containers. And then this one is just going to flex too. So if you haven't seen the ... syntax, what that does is it takes all the stuff we have here and puts it inside of that object. So let's see, did that work? I can't even tell. Oh yeah, we didn't even do what we need to do. So here we're going to say special styles.special container otherwise. So this is ternary. If you've never seen ternary, how it works is if this condition is true at the front, then it runs this code, otherwise it runs this code. So we're going to either apply special container or regular container. If it's special, we apply the special container. Now I want to set a different background color for this. So we can move the background color here, and this background color, I picked out a special color, put in a color txt over here. This is a green color. Feel free to use whatever color you like. Didn't copy that correctly. And I'm also going to set the font color, so just color to white and comma that. And oh, I need to pass that to my text. So I need to also create special text because I want the text to be a different color for this. So text special text, and here we're gonna have, I'm just gonna copy it since it's literally only one thing. I guess, you know what, good practice, we'll say const text base text font size 36, and then here we can actually just set it to base since that's the only thing we want. Base text base text. Okay, so now we're sharing that across, and we're going to use the same ternary operation here. Special styles.special text, otherwise we'll use regular text. Give that a save. So cool, now we have our enter button here, and we have our layout pretty much complete. Feel free to alter this however you like. This is just the kind of basic one that I came up with, that we can clearly see the numbers and the stuff up here. I might switch this up as we're making this, but this is a decent start. I'm pretty happy with this, and I think that's it for this video. We got this working nicely. We'll start adding more functionality now that the layout is complete in our next video. So that's it for this. Thanks for watching, guys.